Oh, hello. Let me see if it gets some light and be a little better. That's a bit better. So it was this past Tuesday night since I did my last stream, and I was working on page 11 of my comic Savage Sasquanaut. And that's actually this page on this side. I did end up finishing that. I think yesterday I finished it. Uh, but I've opened it up again here because I'm going to use it as reference for page 12 because they run right into each other. Uh, but yeah, this is page 12. Uh, there was I actually edited this yesterday because this panel, the art was actually flipped to the other side, and it didn't make a lot of sense. Even now, the lighting's still wrong. So what I'll end up doing is, where I have my secondary, that I'll switch that and make that my primary, and all this side the secondary, because keep it consistent, with the rest of the page, because I got fairly consistent light source, and this particular panel being flipped the other way, and it it just didn't really work for me. And being that this is my comic, I feel comfortable in altering the art in ways like that. Uh, Most other instances when I'm working with another artist or creator on a project, I wouldn't do that with their art. Uh, Being that in the end, this is my property, I'm going to do what I think is best for the whole thing. So uh, I'm still adjusting flats here, getting it all set up and ready to go. To get colored, I need to still turn off some of that so I can get in here and base colors with this flat coloring style. It's all pretty much the same except in specific lighting treatments and whatnot. So I'm going to. That's why I'm using my previous pages, the base tones of the colors. And one thing that should probably be hair. It's kind of wacky. I'm not quite sure. We're just gonna make that all hair. This hasn't looked like this on any of the other pages. You see, it just kind of wraps around the head, but now it's got this big old. I make. What happens if I just make that hair? Like she's got a big old knot on the back of her head, so I'm not gonna do that. But good news if you're one of my backers, supporters for my latest Kickstarter campaign or newsletter. I just received word from Kickstarter that they're in the process of transferring the funds. So that's pretty ballin'. We'll be able to get the get issue 3 out to the printer this next week. Get that going, which is pretty exciting. I still got some stuff I need to clean up and take care of with the Kickstarter. What is going on? It should just be sampling that color. I don't know what happened. It didn't work right, but we got it fixed now. Whatever it did. Uh, I still got to finish making my surveys for the campaign to send to everybody, so I know what and where specifically people want. Uh, I need to wrap up the pre-production file for the printer. That shouldn't take too long, honestly. Like it should be pretty much ready to go. So, uh, barring any surprises, hopefully that should be going to the printer the beginning of next week. Monday, Tuesday. Uh, got more I want to do and get accomplished. I'd like to get a pre-order set up for issue 3 on my Gumroad store. So if people miss the Kickstarter, they'd be able to they'd still be able to order issue 3. And so when I'm doing all the fulfillment, I'll hopefully be able to just put them all together and put the majority of them out all at the same time. You don't know. I don't know. Worth a shot. Because at the end of the day, I want people to buy my comics, and I need to make them available. Uh, so there's just lots and lots and lots of stuff, kind of details or business details, that I need to work on and get through. But I got a lot of. It's really the real downside to making comics. I don't particularly care for handling all the business stuff on the self-employed side, but it's all right. I mean, it's not bad. It's just I'd rather be making comics, coloring and writing and all that kind of more fun stuff. That's where my interests truly lie. But I mean, knowing how the business works and how to proceed and do all the different aspects is invaluable. I mean, all the way around, it'll make me a better creator and just I don't know if protected's the right word, but it will certainly help me make smarter choices, as opposed to just firing and forgetting. Like, I'll figure it out whenever. Like, if I knowing what I know in advance helps me make smarter choices for getting things done properly, if that makes sense. I need to look at one of the previous pages that shows her back because I don't quite remember how I handled it. It's different all the time. See, we haven't seen their very, very back of her head, so that's probably what's happening here. So my flat layer here did have it right. He did worked in accordance to that. So, okay. We just haven't seen that on any of the other pages. You see, I'm kind of sticking with the solid white eyes. Right. There. Just gotta fix my flats. Make sure they're on point. So in the future, whenever I need to make any changes, I can. But I'm gonna start with this one because since I switched everything around, I wanna just go ahead and get it right and out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead. And being that I changed stuff, I'm tweaking my selection just a touch. Turn on. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't go quite to the edge on these just because with the secondary I didn't feel like I wanted to, and it just helps float. But now that I'm making that or needing that to be the primary light source, I am taking it all the way to the edge. Today, my baby girl is hanging with my parents. I don't know if she's coming back tonight or tomorrow. We're going to my parents for 4th of July tomorrow. So they may end up just keeping her, which that works. I do miss her, but it makes it a little easier to get things accomplished when she's not constantly coming to climb in my lap, you know? Go downstairs if you need out. Somebody's texting me. Still fixing. Oh my goodness. The 4th of July is actually my parents' wedding anniversary. Stop. You're fine. You know, my dog's been sick. He's better now. Still on medication, but he's doing really, really good. But ever since he's gotten home from the vet ER, he has been unbearably demanding. If you look at him, he's demanding pets and loves and attentions. It's funny. It is. It's funny. I'm very, very happy that he's doing better. But he starts chirping at me like this when literally my wife is right downstairs in the living room doing whatever she's doing. He can go see her to be let out or get his water, but he's always adamant about me doing it. It's endearing. It's frustrating. It's just as frustrating as it is endearing. I love this dog so very, very much. My goodness. Just gonna boom. You know, and this works. I mean, it's subtle, but it works. It's all right.
Recently, on The Pitch from Gimlet, we opened up the phone lines and let listeners call in and pitch their businesses. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, some ideas are easier to understand than others.
CBD drink, this is what this is? Okay, so you do like oil changes and you do it all mobile? Are these the cryo tanks you're talking about? That's crazy. It's like a Geiger counter for the sun. Cool.
Tap now to listen to Pitchline Bonanza from The Pitch.
Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more. So, at Geico, we'd like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for
I'm
sharing
quite
your
ready to
inner
do
lip
these
sync
other
stuff.
panels since I'm still
Now,
just
it's our turn to
getting
share.
this
With the Geico
taken
Giveback,
care of.
a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. Because we're committed for the
Boom.
long haul,
So he's done
15%
that
credit
panel,
lasts
which
your
is
full
great.
policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for more info and eligibility.
This year, Lowe's is your home
You
for the
start with the
4th. If
gradient,
you're celebrating at home with family,
but I got some
some have more
cool
laundry.
brushes.
That weird sound your washer
I'm
is
liking
making?
this. I call it the
Well,
rough,
now it's
smoky
not making one at
texture,
all.
but it's not really
Lowe's
smoke.
has you covered
It's
with
just kind of
appliances
a.
up to 40% off, like a Samsung
I
laundry
briefly
derby
held a
or
job
Instant
with
Sanitize Plus Dry for $6.28 each. Sure, your dryer
Allegiance
works fine,
Arts and
but wouldn't a
Entertainment,
matching
which
set
is
and
a whole
champagne
other
color look nicer? Discover
disaster
what's
of a
possible.
story. But
Download the app or shop
they did
now
provide
at
with some
Lowe's.com.
some
Offers valid
interesting
through Saturday,
brushes,
US only.
which you know that's kind of cool. So I've been using some of this cool brush I got with them because they wanted a specific look that they did, and I was like, that's cool. So, but I do like that brush quite a bit. It's pretty neat. So I implement it here, and I'm gonna have this side be just a little darker, carry a little more of the green, less of the yellow. Just because I'm having that side have more light, it helps emphasize the direction of the light. If you've been watching along with any of the other streams of this series, I've got kind of like this element here has been this pinkish hue. Uh, so yeah, that's fixing that panel. Swapping it around from being the wrong direction, just to keep it consistent with the rest of the flow of the page. And that's part of it. Whenever drawing a page or laying out a page in the story, you know, flow is a big part of it, leading the eye, the reader's eye, having it go through the page. And so to have every panel where he's kind of facing this similar direction, having the light hit the same direction, and then this huge close up in the middle panel just be flopped the opposite direction for no reason. I'm honestly not sure why. If I'd paid a little more attention when I received the layouts, I probably would have had it changed then. But it wasn't that big a deal. Change it right here. And like I said, I don't tend to like to do that on artist stuff, but I take a few more liberties on my book than I would freelancing for anybody else. If I'm hired to do a job somebody else, I wouldn't take the same liberties I do here. So I guess there's a lesson or something in that. But I'm gonna go ahead and just maintain this finish up this blue, green, yellow, ink background sky element I've been doing, just to get that done. It's not terribly challenging, and it just helps fill the space, make stuff look a little more done and interesting. But I like this brush, man. It's cool. Great for backgrounds. I'm just gonna, just carry over these colors I use in every panel right now. I don't really need to worry about mixing and making new colors because it's all the same scene. So I've already established that numerous times. So I'm not worried about bringing up in my color picker and doing all that or using the swatches. I'll just use what I've already done. That's okay. Okay, so it looks like there's a couple levels of this pink stuff this time here. So I'm actually going to You know, it's mostly been fairly flat. And that's, I did it, I need want a different page. And the page I'm working on right now it's page 12, so it's officially the middle of issue 4. I'll finish this and we'll officially have half the book done. And you can watch most of it having been colored here on Twitch. So the latter half of the book, there's stuff I probably won't stream here on Twitch just because I don't want to spoil some stuff. You know, there's some neat things that happen at the end of the issue that, you know, I'm hoping people will buy and be surprised and read it. You know, I may inadvertently spoil some things, but I'm trying not to. So I may end up switching some projects here in the near future on my stream. Because I got a few commissions and pieces that I want and need to do for whenever we do go back to conventions. I'm working with a couple artists, doing some new pieces with and for them, so we can come back with a bunch of new material and new artwork. So whenever conventions do come, there's just a lot of great new material, and I don't want to end up having to try and jam it all done at one point. So in the probably near future, I'll be switching over and doing that here on Twitch. So maybe a little bit less in the way of Sasquanaut here and there, or at least I'll probably cut some of the pages where I won't do a few of the pages here. I'll do others. It's not like I'm gonna stop doing it. Most of them here to help promote my comic more than anything. My comic me. So I mean, it's all kind of the same thing. But see, in this one I'm trying to... What, buddy? Hold on one sec. I'm gonna see if I can get my wife to come get him. Okay. You're okay. Hey, you're okay. Demando. You're alright. You're not in trouble. You're alright. There, good. Thank you. I think the biggest benefit to this pandemic is that my wife is home. She'd be home right now anyway because she's a teacher and they've got summer break, but it's been really nice just having her here. It's allowed me to do quite a bit of extra work, you know. Since she's here, she's been able to tackle the majority of parenting duties, you know, which is very, very nice. You know, she's a great mom. It's been really cool because, you know, we got our first child, and I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home and play and take care of our daughter for, you know, for most of the school year up until the beginning of March. And then when they said kept everybody home because of the pandemic, you know, my wife then got the pleasure of being home with our daughter and taking care of her. And you know, I do miss some of that, you know, because I do miss spending all that extra time with her. I mean, it's not like we're away. She comes into my office throughout the day and we spend time together, but it's not quite the same as it was. I do miss it, but my wife's getting to do that right now while she can. You know, we don't really know what's going to happen for the next school year yet. So it's been really, really nice. And even if she ends up having to stay home longer still, I know it's not going to be quite the same, being that it's going to be the beginning of the school year. It'll probably be quite a bit more tense than winding down the school year. But yeah, save, always save. Saving is very, very important. And the later versions of Photoshop have a recovery tool and option, and that's super helpful. But it's not quite the same as saving. So save your work constantly. And if you can, one thing I highly, 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 highly recommend is getting one of the surge protector battery backups. So it's just a big old surge protector, but it's got a battery in it. So like half it's just a regular surge protector, half of it's the battery backup. And have your computer and monitor, you know, maybe one other item or two in the part with the battery. You know, the rest can just go on the other surge protector side. But that way, if there's ever a brownout or a power outage with, you know, storms or just, you know, whatever ends up happening, power surges, your computer won't turn off. It'll stay on. Even if the rest of your house goes dead, your computer will stay on long enough so you can save your files and close down. That's been invaluable to me. I have lost a fair amount of work over the years. And I don't know if you guys remember Circuit City, but when Circuit City was going out of business, some of the last things they had in the store were these battery backups that were like 80 or 90% off. And they just had kind of a tower of them. I bought 3 at the time. You know, they're usually like 75, 80, 90 bucks a pop. I think I got them for like 10 bucks, 15 at most. And I got those 3 and I took them home and to my office. And like my old office, especially when I used to work out at Anarch Press, we're on the same grid as the hospitals and stuff. Part of the grid is the hospitals and in the medical center. And there'd be an occasional brownout. It was not unheard of. It would never last too long, but you just flick, man. We'd lose whatever. And I got tired of it. So the battery backup has saved my butt on multiple occasions. And one of the worst was I had been up all night several years ago. I was working on Thor, I think, when I was working with Guru FX. And it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up all night working, saving the file. And while it was saving, it was the middle of a big old thunder lightning storm, and it cut the power. And I didn't have the battery backup at that time. It shut down. It actually corrupted my whole file, and I had to restart everything from when I got home from the office. I was working at home at night. So I had to restart everything I was doing all night long when I was ready to go to bed. And the book was due, so I couldn't not do it. So, yeah, battery backup. Invest if you do art or any of this kind of heavy computer work. It doesn't have to be art. It can be anything. It can be spreadsheets or whatever. Invest. It'll save your butt. and the batteries last a little while. They do. I've never sat to test how long they last because honestly, I work long enough to get my stuff saved and
It's
shut
very
down just to
small.
make
No
sure
soy
I
milk.
don't
All new
lose
fun.
a
Okay.
But
thing.
then your boss tells you to switch offices with Jeff,
But
and when buying a car, you know
So
you have to compromise.
what
So
about the
take
all-new
that for
Nissan
what it's
Sentra?
worth.
It's radically redesigned with zero-gravity seats, a quilted leather
Yeah.
interior, and it has the most standard safety features in its class.
So no compromise then. Okay.
Refuse to compromise with the all-new Nissan Sentra.
No instrumentation to increase share versus latest in-market economy compact class competitors. See owner's manual for safety information. Availability of features vary by vehicle model year, model, trim level, packaging, and options. Base models compared based on manufacturer's website.
Excuse me. I am gonna start looking into trying some of these other platforms that will allow me to stream across a few different uh, sites, like YouTube and whatever, at the same time as Twitch. Uh, you know, I really like this Twitch Studio software. It's super easy, super customizable, really, really great. The growth though is quite a bit slower than I've been hoping for. So I'm hoping maybe if I can open it up and do do sorry. So I'm hoping if I can get it running on YouTube and whatever at the same time as Twitch, maybe I can get a bit more interaction with people. My buddy McLean, who's lettered issue 3, he just recommended StreamYard to me. And I started looking at that, and everything's looking pretty hopeful. But to do multi-streaming, they want a monthly fee, and I know there's free software out there. So right now, I'm all about the free, man. Maybe if I can make money off this, I can get into doing a monthly subscription or something. But right now, that's not gonna happen. And I'm not really looking to become a partner or do anything crazy. It's like that's not my ambition. If it happens, well, that's cool. But I don't look to be any of these dudes that streaming becomes their life and their money. No, that's not what I want. Because ultimately, I don't know how I could even create. Like it's one thing for me to color, but when I get into writing and all that, like literally, you're just gonna have the camera just staring at me and typing. It's like that's silly. And there's so much crap that happens behind the scenes that's as boring as coloring can be to watch, which it can be color. It can be. That's why I try to interact, and I hope people on here to help me interact. As boring as that can be, watching spreadsheets and analytics and writing posts and all that kind of stuff. That's not something. It's not something you need to see. It's not something I want to show. I just no, all the way around no. So I don't. I would like to grow this just mainly so when I'm on here, there's more people talking and interacting. My aspirations are not to be who are some of the big streamers on there, the Dr. Disrespects or whatever. I don't want to be that. I think after this page, it really starts getting more different and changing, because I know there's been a handful of pages that were very similar and of the same scene, and that's okay. You know, there's a lot of change in this issue and a lot of crazy, so this stretch of similar pages has actually just been kind of a nice break for me. I'm just gonna make that up. But yeah, these guys are like my rainbow bulb plants. I don't know what they are. Just alien bulb things. Took me a little bit to figure out these guys, but once I did, they end up being they're pretty easy now. You know. See, and that's how we do that. I still need to do like color holds and stuff, but that all comes towards the end. I don't like to do those too often, like in the middle of it. Sometimes I do that here on the stream, just especially if I'm just attacking. Since I'm attacking the page as a whole as opposed to panel by panel, and I'm pretty sure I know mostly what I'm doing. I'll save the effects and the glows and the knockouts and stuff till the very end. You know, as I try to figure out my process, like if it's a new scene or a new project, I may spend just attack panel by panel and go for all the effects and glows and knockouts and stuff in the first, like, just as I go through the page, just to figure it out. That can help. But here with these, I know more or less what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish, since it's just continuing what I've already established. So main thing is I'll come in here and add like a tertiary highlight, just give it one more level of shine. But again, I'm gonna wait a little bit before I get into that. I remember when I was first thinking of this particular issue of this story, or just the arcs, the different arcs and plot lines throughout this first few issues of the series. I don't remember exactly how or where. I remember telling it to my friend Tony, who was from Mexico. He was up visiting, and he and I were discussing, or we saw something, and it sparked, and something about Telemundo girls. If you've ever seen Telemundo, it's ridiculous. And that's kind of the impetus of the space sirens here, which they weren't space sirens at first. I wasn't quite sure what they were going to be, but it was just kind of this ridiculous concept that we found very funny at the time from something that we saw or whatever. I can't quite recall. But yeah, it's a fish. It was originally something based upon the Telemundo girls on TV. Well, there's a little bit of stupid trivia for you. I think we were tying like Televoodoo girls or something, and there was going to be a little more media, and it might be a little more interesting if I played more with that, trying to do something more with media and whatever, and as opposed to kind of more of the typical Odyssey inspired, or Iliad. Odyssey, was it Odyssey or Iliad with the sirens? I don't remember. Essentially those, and again, there's going to be several, 3, like the Odyssey or Iliad. There was going to be 3 sirens, and in the early drafts of this particular issue or storyline of this, it was going to end up being like 2 or 3 issues to get everything done in a way that I felt was satisfying. Kind of hit all the notes I wanted to hit, and wasn't just a full-blown, like, hey, here you go. And I could have easily done that, but my primary goal with this series was to try and have almost have the issues pretty much self-contained, part of an overarching story, but self-contained, done in one. Very much how comics used to be. It wasn't always about the 5-6 issue, 4-5-6 issue arcs that make up the graphic novel. So I wanted to have very, very structured and complete stories every single issue. But reading as a whole would get you something much more meaningful and deep. You'd get more out of it. So I mean, you could pick up issue 4, having never read 1 through 3, and still enjoy it. You'd get more out of it if you read all 4 of them, and you'd understand how and why they got to where they are. But that was a defining element I wanted to accomplish with this series, was to maintain self-contained, good, complete stories. Comics by and large have gotten very far away from that, for better and worse. I mean, it is a serial format, so I mean, I don't think you have to treat it exclusively, as self-contained thing. I don't believe you have to. I think in the regular industry, like when I first came up with this project, the plan from the get-go was it was going to release traditionally through comic stores each and every month for however long it was going to run. And it may still do that once I actually get all the issues finished. That's not out of the question, and I am I am considering and looking at options about doing that, but I want to make sure the issues are done. I don't want to sacrifice the quality of the issues for the sake of just getting them done in the stores. Like, I'd rather just get the issues done when they're done and then offer them traditionally if I go that route. But
Hi, me again.
yeah,
You guys said you would be here about an hour ago, and I think the possum is starting to get angry. Listen, I thought if I fed it, it
so
would go
I
away,
figured
but
if I was
now
going
it
to
is
release them each
ripping
and every
holes in the
month,
drywall and making some sort of nest. Just call me back.
it would be best to make them as accessible as possible. Still working together towards a whole, but people are so often just, oh, I can't. If I'm not reading number one, I don't care. Which that's a separate problem, but that is a problem, you know, that I don't know where it comes from, and I'm guilty of it myself at times. But I think that also stems from creators and comics kind of ignoring the individual issue in the aim and the scope of achieving a graphic novel or a trade paperback and getting that. And you know, my goal is to make a graphic novel collected trade paperback too. Like, that's absolutely my goal, but it's not at the expense of the individual issues. And I think that's been a big problem in telling largely decompressed stories, so individual issues aren't terribly fulfilling when and if you read them. Like, it'll be a good part, but it doesn't often feel fulfilling anymore. And so that was a driving thought on this series for me, is I wanted strong, interesting, solid individual issues. So, and when people are, to go back to my thought, I know I'm just kind of stream of consciousness thought because nobody's talking to me, so I'm just gonna ramble about my ideas and thoughts of comics. I mean, fandom by and large at this point is like, oh, I've never read issue 1, and so I'm not interested in your story unless I can get it all. I really don't like that mentality, and I think it's the opposite of what comics could and should be. I mean, when I first started reading comics, it was Marvel and Batman. My first comic was Batman number 444. I still have this issue. It was even the first or second part of a 2-part story, but I mean, I didn't not get the issue because it was 444. I wasn't like, oh, I need Detective Comics number 1 to be able to enjoy Batman. That wasn't the case. It wasn't the case for forever, up until basically the 2000s, and then everything started relaunching the number 1s, for assorted reasons. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but and then part of it was manga, where hey, you're okay, a lot of kids got into manga, which had a lot of beginning and endings. There's a lot of really, really, really long running mangas, but most of them end up having an end at some point. So you could, in theory, get the whole story, and it would all connect together. So I mean, I get it. Like I said, I've been guilty of it too. But I think American comics got to the point where kind of gave up on single issues. Like, yeah, he put them out every single month, but it was always in service of getting to the trade. So my goal from day one on this series has been to create the best comic I could on a issue by issue basis. It was, like I said, it was going to be monthly, but that ended up not being the case, and that's okay. Oops. See, that gets super illegal. These were the first pages, so they're pretty. But a lot of this is covered by special effects now, so as illegal in color as it is, it's not quite the same anymore. Yeah, so yeah, if you ever watched the Justice League cartoon or Batman the Animated Series, you know, all those were amazingly well done shows. And what was particularly fantastic about them was, you know, stuff that happened in Batman the Animated Series or Superman the Animated Series circled back around, even though they were all standalone episodes, circled back and would be touchstones for Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoons, where they stood alone, but they were part of a whole. You know, it was a shared universe. You know, that's become such a popular phrase where I don't think everything should have to share the universe, but it's a nice thing when it does happen, but that shouldn't be the goal of happening all the time. You know, I want my comics to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, not because of everything else. And so being able to read Spider-Man as he's going through the city, stopping a mugger or whatever, and seeing Thor fly overhead, you know, not even interacting, he's just there. You see him, like, that's cool. Okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to come home, bring her today, or just keep her till tomorrow when we go out there. Okay, that's fine. Cool. And I miss her. It'll be fun to have her back home. With all her screwed up sleeping schedule now.
Awful.
Yeah. No. You know, it used to be when there were team ups in comics, it was rare. I mean, it happened, did not happen, but everything was able to stand on its own 2 feet and happen. And when it did happen, and it was because it was rare and wasn't all the time, it made it that much more special and exciting. The fact that now it seems to be kind of a driving force of everything. I mean, it's even in the movies now. I mean, as much as I'm enjoying the Spider-Man movies and everything, they are very, very, very reliant upon Iron Man. If not even, like, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't even in Far From Home, but the entire story was impacted by him. And, you know, that's both awesome and kind of limiting. You know, and that was one thing that made the beginning of the Marvel movies even so special. It's like they didn't exist in the same realm until the stinger at the end of the credits. So I mean, the movie stood on their own. So when the team ups did happen, it was that much more exciting. You don't want that to be the end all be all the time. You know, I will say, I would like to see Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be fun. Oh, maybe we can go swimming once Kaylee gets home. Depending on when she gets home, that'll be fun. Oh, last time she was having more fun just running along the side of the pool. It's been funny. We've been taking my girl swimming quite a bit lately. She's been loving it. And then the last couple times, it stopped being so much about swimming, and she wanted to hang out on the steps to the pool and just play around and splash and pull little pebbles off the sidewalk area or whatever. It's like, okay, that's fun. And then we went swimming not yesterday, day before yesterday, and she flat out wanted out of the pool. So she climbed out, and then she just kind of wanted to, just kind of ran along the edge of one pool. So my wife and I were just kind of chasing her in the pool, which she found really, really, really funny. And that was a good workout. You know, we've been trying to do more swimming to do more exercise and stuff like that. So it's been good for us. And like I said, our daughter's really, really enjoyed it. But the last couple times, she's becoming more and more interested with us happening outside the pool, which is both funny and frustrating. Because it's a little easier for us to do swimming and having fun in the pool when she's in there with us, as opposed to being outside running along the edge. I don't really want her running around the pool. You know, we're right there. I don't think anything bad will happen other than she might fall and scrape a knee or something. It wouldn't be fun.
When Christina was a kid, her foster mother forced her to quit playing basketball. After that, her life never got back on course. And now, 30 years later,
I want to know why she made my life so difficult. If she had some kind of thing against me.
I'm Jonathan Goldstein, and on episode 11 of Heavyweight, Christina asks her foster mother why she took away the one thing she loved. Tap to listen on Spotify.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important.
I don't know
When
why
you
I
turn to
didn't
Rocket Mortgage,
establish the
we can
lighting
help
on
guide
these
you to those
background
right
elements
decisions
in
now
this channel.
when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic
It's
lows,
being lazy,
so now
probably.
is a great time to call 8338
It's
Rocket.
dumb
And if
that
you
I
need
end
some
up,
extra money, a cash out refinance could
because I
give
know
you that
better.
financial boost
I'd be
you're
lazy
looking
for
for.
that
Call
moment,
today
and
at
it's not like I
8338
don't
Rocket
have to
or
do
go to
the work. I still have to do
rocketmortgage.com to
it.
learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Look around your home. Could your style use a refresh? Then look around HomeDepot.com. You'll see a range of furniture from sofas to ottomans and decor from pillows to linens, even mattresses. And more ways to save means
But I don't
more
know.
ways to bring out your
I've been
style.
watching a lot of
With furniture and decor,
YouTube
start summer
interviews.
here.
I only recently discovered, I guess I'm late to the party, but it's the cartoonist kayfabe channel.
Visit HomeDepot.com for more
with
information.
Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor.
Nordstrom is now open in your area.
That channel's
You're
really
looking
cool,
to
man.
keep
I've really
your
been
healthy
enjoying
while
it and the
shopping.
interviews they've
Social
been having.
distancing, free face coverings,
It's
and
been
contactless
pretty
curbside
cool.
pickup. Shop safely and save big too with 60% off thousands of items.
I don't
We
agree
can't
with
wait to see
all
you
their
at
stances
Nordstrom.
or whatever with comics, but it's been highly entertaining. And interviewing guys like Mark Miller and Robert Kirkman and Howard Chaykin. And I'd never heard of David Joe, but that was a really, really interesting interview. Like, I'm still not terribly sure who exactly this guy is, but man, it was a really neat interview. Kind of pretty inspiring. Just makes you want to go out and conquer the world of comics. It'd be pretty cool. Cartoonist Kayfabe is the YouTube channel. What is going on? Why is my... Oh, great. Whatever reason, my shortcuts aren't working now. There it goes. Yeah, I don't know. There's something is in Windows. I'll be working and sticky keys are turned off, but I don't know if you can ever like fully turn them off, because I'll have like sticky key issues where my control button, even though it's not pressed, is registering that it's pushed down, and it messes up. It messes me up, man. It messes up the control I have over the program. And it's kind of freaking infuriating. Again, I think it's like sticky keys, but I'll have it all turned off, so it shouldn't turn on, but it will. And then kind of randomly able to figure out how to turn it off. It's never really the same thing. And it's not just like, oh, it's just this keyboard. It's been like every keyboard I've owned in every Photoshop for a long, long time. Just want a little more color in here. I don't really know what the green thing is. Oh yeah, and I had a real good conversation with Kevin Eastman on Cartoonist Kayfabe. And that was really interesting because it wasn't really all about turtles. It was a little bit about turtles and mostly about everything else, which is really cool because it was, heavy metal. It was Tundra, which I didn't know a lot about Tundra because I was still pretty young at that time. Like, I was into comics, but I wasn't that much into indie stuff at the time. It was a late night. Hey, thank you. Just got a push alert to my phone where the state of Texas is now mandating people to wear masks, and it's punishable by a fine if you caught without one. We wear masks. We went out a little bit yesterday since since daughter was gone. We ran a few errands and just kind of took a little bit of time for ourselves. We wore masks anytime we were in public. Last thing we want to do is get sick or get any of our family sick. We don't go out much. We really do try to limit our exposure and yeah, I'm currently on my phone. Oh, sorry, but you know, nobody's here anyway, so I guess I'll do what I want. Take a little bit of break. Thinking about lunch here before too long. Not particularly hungry, but I also don't want to put it off too late. Excuse me. Yeah, I also had to look up the term kayfabe because I was unfamiliar with it. So, you know, a little bit of vocabulary lesson on top of it. Okay, I'm gonna start getting into effects and stuff. So I'm gonna finally put the line art on a layer. Oops. Just for clarity's sake, you know, name it as lines. I'm gonna make 2 layers here. This one, I'm gonna turn it into a clipping mask. And what that allows me to do is quickly and easily create color holds or knockouts, which is the term I prefer. But that's not the industry standard term. That's the term I was told or learned from guys I learned from through effects. See, so the clipping mask allows me to just do it here, whereas it used to be I would have to do these selections, cut out the lines, turn them into a channel, fill it, make that selection, bring them back in the background, and fill the color on the background. This way, it's a lot less manipulation. Like I still have to make the selection or fill it with a brush or pencil or whatever. Like I still have to do that part. But it basically becomes almost a flat unless I render it, which I can render it still. But it stays there, stays isolated. and I can do multiple clipping mask layers just to my heart's content. I only recently learned about this. It's about the only other good thing that came out of the whole time with the Allegiance Arts and Entertainment group, was I learned this nifty little trick. I don't really know if it's a lesson. I mean, it's a lesson learned, but I don't know if the lesson was worth what I went through. So I'll at least use it, so I still need to make. This other. Here's that one.
Do you have Medicaid and Medicare? Get a top-rated plan with more benefits. Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. United Healthcare is proud to have been awarded 5 out of 5 stars for the 2020 plan year for quality, customer service, and more. And we're proud to have WellMed in our network. Get more benefits. Call United Healthcare at 1-844-201-0074. CMS star rating applies to contract number H4590. Other providers are available in our network.
Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more. So, at Geico, we'd like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now, it's our turn to share with the Geico Give Back. a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. Because we're committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for more info and eligibility.
You know, and I could spend a long time on these backgrounds. I really, really could. At the end of the day, they are not what is important. Figures are, and what I need from the background is to give the setting, but I need the figures to stand out from some. That's where these atmospherics, glows and smokes and stuff come into play. To one, it makes it visually interesting, but two, it helps pop elements forward and move other elements into the back, de-emphasize them. Emphasize and de-emphasize. Those are what I'm trying to say. For safety's sake, save that selection. I'm gonna dragon dust cloud. That's what I want. I'm gonna go real big. Using spots. I mean, it's not, you see, they're de-emphasizing there. Here, you can kind of see where the color is. It's a little heavier down here and a little heavier there. It's heavier in spots just to help create some push and pull. Especially in spots like this where there's just like a lot going on, it will help to clarify these elements and separate them to their appropriate level of importance. You can magic wand some of it, but where it gets a little more busy, it's easier just to draw the selection. And my lasso still does not have anti-alias turned on. It's rare that I turn that on anymore. Unless it's a really big selection, by and large, your eye isn't going to notice that the printing will soften the edges anyway. Now, if I take something and blow it up to, 5, 6, 10 times the size than it's done at, then it may be more visible. But how often does that happen? That would happen as AP, like if we took images, especially older images for like Gold Digger or whatever, and use those to turn into a poster for a booth at San Diego. Those used to be done about 200 DPI or 300 DPI and pretty much at comic size. So when they go from 10 inches tall to 72 inches tall, some of that stuff becomes a bit more obvious. So I mean, that was a lesson. I mean, most of the stuff I don't see myself ever having the opportunity or turning into a big image, but I work at a higher resolution anyway. Kind of was an inspiration, part of an inspiration for that, where I'm just going to work at a higher resolution. So if and when something comes up and I need to go bigger or do something bigger, it may not be flawless, but it'll look quite a bit better. So most of the work I do ranges between 400 and 600 DPI. And I just do that way. Cover my bases, because you never know what's going to happen. I've even did an image. I remember when I was working for Convention, the owner was adamant about turning one particular image a friend of ours did into a banner, and I'm not talking like a 3-foot banner. He wanted like a 20-foot banner, and it's from a comic page. You can do that, but it's going to look like crap. I mean, if we can get a high res of it. So we managed to even talk the artist into getting us the scan, of it, 1200 DPI, and I ended up recreating his color because it was mostly monochromatic. It was pretty easy, but I recreated it working at 1200 DPI. So when it blew up, it would look a lot better as opposed to a 400 DPI that's 10 and a half inches tall that's then turned into 20 feet. Not that anybody actually appreciated that, but it was something I'm proud of. I wanted it to look good. I think it serves the artist better, makes him look better, made the show look better. It is what it is. Those that know are gonna know. Most of the world's not gonna care, but I figure those that know, if they see and when they see and they notice that, they'll like it better and be more receptive and, oh man, yeah, they go to that extra level and do that extra bit, and that's really, really cool. So I want to do stuff with them because I know they're going to make me or make it look really great. It's always kind of been my philosophy. Most of my early training when I was working with Anner Press in the first few years, before life beat everybody down, my first few years there, everything was done to the nth degree. I mean, and so that's kind of how I learned. And what I learned, it was always, it wasn't so much the less is more attitude, it was the more is more. And do everything you can to make the more look as good as possible. That is since no longer the case there, unfortunately. I mean, for many reasons. Some of it's completely understandable, just because it's hard and time consuming, and most of the world won't see or appreciate it. So I get it. I don't always ascribe to that myself, but there's times and there's things where it's like, you do this little bit of extra effort, I think it goes a little bit extra. And even if somebody doesn't know for sure why they like it, you know, in the long run, it'll be for the best. You know, and that was from the guys at AP. You know, it really was. The guys that were in charge of AP, and I guess technically still are, but they have much less of a guiding hand as they used to. I'm gonna make this yellow too, like this, just because it helps give that a little bit difference and breaks up the color a little bit. Too much pinky purple crap going on there. I think that'll call it for that page. I may tweak some stuff here later as I get into more of the lettering or whatnot. Never, you know, I'm calling it done, but it's never finished until it goes to print. Yeah, boom. Alright, I think I'll call it for now so I can figure out what's for lunch. When I get back, I'll probably work on like surveys and other administrative stuff that I need to get done. So I probably won't stream again today or this weekend, so maybe Monday or even Tuesday night before I'm back on. So anyway, that's all. Peace out.